For those that don't know, in the early 2000s, Steve Nash won back-to-back MVP titles, which puts him in very rare company in the NBA. And in the first season that Steve Nash won the NBA MVP, he actually only led the league in 2 statistical categories. The first would be assists. He liked to share the sugar, he liked to pass the pill, he liked to get other people involved. Certainly the trait of a great leader and a great teammate. But you know the other statistic that Steve Nash led the NBA in? Was actually physical touches. I'm talking about literally high fives, fist bumps, and pats on the backside. Now you're probably wondering, how could I know that Steve Nash led the NBA in high fives, fist bumps, and pats on the backside? Well, it just so happens there was a research team from UC Berkeley, and they were conducting an official study because they wanted to measure if showing signs of physical enthusiasm actually led to more wins on the court. So they hired a team of researchers to watch every minute of every NBA game and make a tally mark every time a player gave a high five, a fist bump, or a pat on the backside. Well, the Phoenix Suns, who Steve Nash played for at the time, were so enamored with this study that they hired a full-time intern to count just for Steve Nash. Just by show of hands, how many of you have ever had a crappy entry-level job before? Yeah, can you imagine if that was your very first job? Yeah, you see this guy here? Every time he touches one of these big, tall, sweaty guys, if you could please make a tally mark. In the first game that the intern counted for Steve Nash, he delivered 239 high fives, fist bumps, and pats on the backside. He was a furnace of human connection. Now, in the game of basketball, where physicality is appropriate, it has been physiologically proven you can transfer energy to another human being through physical touch. You can indeed raise someone's game with a well-placed high five, fist bump, and pat on the backside. Just to make sure I'm clear and HR compliant, I'm not telling you guys to go patting each other on the backside when you guys go to your breakout sessions. Here's what I am telling you to do. Get crystal clear on innovative ways that you can make the same type of emotional deposit to the 2 professional groups that should mean the most to you. And that is those on your team and the communities you serve. And I want you to get crystal clear on ways that you can add extra value, supplemental value, additional value to give an emotional deposit to the 2 professional groups that should mean the most to you. Those on your team and those that you serve. And if you're up for a challenge, here's one, it's called 10 assists. Every single morning when you wake up, you put 10 rubber bands on your left wrist. Every time you give an assist to either someone on your team or a member of the communities that you serve, you take 1 rubber band off of your left wrist and you put it on your right wrist. And an assist is anything you do that goes above and beyond what you're expected to do. This is not part of your job description or part of your role. This is in addition to, this is supplemental. And every time you add extra value to someone on your team or someone that you serve, it's an assist and you move 1 rubber band from the left wrist to the right wrist. But here's the deal. Your workday's not over until all 10 rubber bands are on your right wrist. Until you know for a fact that you personally have done nothing short of 10 tangible things to add extra value to the 2 professional groups that should mean the most to you. Those in your team and those that you serve. And if you can make that contagious with everybody on your team, I'm telling you, you will see performance, you will see productivity, you'll see cohesion, collaboration, everything will skyrocket immediately. So now I'm going to cover, and these will be brief, the 3 components of building winning teams and championship caliber cultures. But don't let the brevity of what I'm about to share with you undermine the importance. And those are going to be role clarity, accountability, and communication. Role clarity. Every single one of you needs to know your role, needs to embrace your role, and needs to star in your role to the best of your ability. Everybody else on your team needs to respect, value, and appreciate everyone else's role. You need to go out of your way to show love for the contribution that everybody else is making on the team. Role clarity is the foundation to which the rest of the house is built. The second component of building winning teams and creating championship caliber culture is accountability. For those of you taking notes, write this down. Holding someone accountable, it's something you do for them. It's not something you do to them. This is true in basketball, this is true in business, and this is true in parenting. Holding someone accountable is something you do for them. It's not something you do to them. I believe holding someone accountable is the best gift that you can give another human being, especially a teammate. Because when you hold someone accountable to a high standard of excellence, in essence, what you're saying is, I care so much about you and I care so much about us that I'm not going to let you show up and do less than you're capable of. I care so much about you and I care so much about us, I'm not going to let you violate one of our core values. I care so much about you and I care so much about us, I'm not going to let you come here with a bad attitude or giving a poor effort. Holding someone accountable is the best gift you can give them. But before you can hold people accountable, you have to be crystal clear on not only what you're holding them accountable to, but your level of expectation. So I've mentioned several times about my 3 kids. I'm also divorced, so I only have my kids half the time. A couple years ago, I had my kids over for dinner. And at the time, my son Luke was 12, and I asked him to please clean the table. After he rolled his eyes at me, he grabbed the plates and the utensils and the glasses, and he threw them in the sink, and he went to his room and he started playing Fortnite. And I found myself momentarily frustrated because that is not how I define cleaning the table. See, I'm old school. I define cleaning the table as carefully taking the glasses and the utensils and the plates, going over to the sink and using a sponge to rinse them off, line them up neatly in the dishwasher, and then take a Clorox wipe the table off, and if you knock any crumbs on the ground, you sweep them up. I'm old school. That's how I define cleaning the table. But right before I got upset at Luke, it hit me and I started to laugh. The failure was 100% mine. See, I didn't take the time to clearly define what I meant by clean the table to him the way I just did with you all. I left it vague. I left it ambiguous. I left it up to Luke. And I don't know if any of you have a 12-year-old son, but if you do, you'll probably agree that the way Luke cleaned the table is in perfect alignment with the way a 12-year-old boy sees the world. He thought he did exactly what I asked him to do. And you know what? He did. Now, because of the type of father I am, I quickly marched all 3 of my kids into the kitchen, and I proceeded to give them a master class on what I mean when I say clean the table. And guess what? It's never been a problem since. It's never been a problem since. My kids know definitively what I mean when I say clean the table. They know my level of expectation, and they know that I love them so much that if they don't do it to that standard of excellence, they will do it again. So it has never been a problem since. And the third component of building winning teams and championship caliber culture is communication. And just know, as leaders and as teammates, you're always communicating something. Even when you're not speaking, you're communicating. And I'm not just talking about your facial expressions and body language and tonality and the nonverbals. More importantly, I'm talking about the unconscious messages that underpin everything it is that you actually say. See, there's a hidden message underneath the words that we use. I want you all to think about delegation. When you ask a teammate for help on something of importance, you delegate responsibility and you ask them for help. What's the unconscious message when you ask a teammate for help? I trust you. I believe in you. I think you're good enough. That's why I'm asking for your help. That type of unconscious message will strengthen your relationship and your connection with that person. What happens, however, if you delegate or ask for help and then you micromanage? You either literally or figuratively stand over their shoulder, breathing down their neck, making sure they cross every T and dot every I. What's the unconscious message you send then? Yeah, the exact opposite. I don't trust you, I don't believe in you, and I don't think you're good enough to get this done. Now, I know that's not what you mean. I know that's not what you intend to communicate. I know that's not what's on your heart. But if you're taking notes, write this down. It's not what you say, it's what they hear that matters. It's not what you say, it's what they hear that matters. So we need to make sure that we are in perfect alignment with what it is we say and the unconscious messages we send. So you have to understand, when it comes to building winning teams and championship cultures, little things make a huge difference. In 2008, I was working as the performance coach at Montrose Christian, a very small private high school just north of Washington, D.C. And I was down in the locker room getting dressed for what I thought was going to be a normal day of practice. But I walked through our gym doors and I found myself 10 feet away from my idol. I thought this was going to be a normal day of practice. And I walked through the gym doors and I'm standing a few arms lengths away from the one person in the world I wanted to meet more than anyone. I mentioned him earlier, Coach K, the former men's basketball coach at Duke. Someone I'd idolized my entire coaching career. And I had a chance to talk to Coach K for 10 minutes before practice started. And it's kind of crazy because as epiphanal as this exchange was, I don't remember a single word that either one of us said. I was in total fanboy mode. I don't remember a single word that either one of us said. But I will never forget how Coach K made me feel. He made me feel like I was the most important person in that gym. I wasn't. The kid he was recruiting was the most important, but he made me feel like I was. How did he do that? He maintained eye contact with a warm smile and open body language. But more importantly, he showed a genuine interest in me and a genuine curiosity, and he kept asking me question after question about my training and my work with the team. He made me feel like I was the most important person in that gym. Now, I told you I'm old school. I was raised old school. I was raised that when someone goes out of their way to do something nice for you, you handwrite them a thank you note. So I went home that night and I handwrote him a thank you note. Said something to the effect of, Coach K, you have no idea how amazing it was to finally meet you. Thank you so much for your time. I'll always be rooting for you and Duke. And I put a stamp on it and I sent it off to Durham, North Carolina. And I figured that would be that. Well, 3 weeks later, I go to my mailbox and I get a letter back from Coach K. I know some of you in the cheap seats can't see this, but it's 3 sentences of his iconic handwriting on the front of his stationery that in essence says the same thing. No, Alan, it was great to meet you. You're doing a terrific job. Keep it up. 3 sentences. How long do you think it took him to write this, even if he writes slow? Maybe 60 seconds? Can we agree that over the course of our entire life, can we agree that 60 seconds is a little thing? Well, this little thing had a profound impact on my life. This little thing is the reason I wake up every single day with an attitude of gratitude to tell as many people as I can, hey, great job today. Hey, nice work. Awesome job. This little thing is why I am personally relentless about returning voicemails, emails, and text messages as promptly as possible. Because I figure if one of the most successful and decorated, and let's be honest, one of the busiest coaches in the history of all of team sports can make the time to handwrite me a note back, you better believe I can reply to your email. You better believe I can call or text you back. So just know that the little things you do make a huge difference. And I only carry this around when I speak. I don't keep it in my gym shorts when I'm at the grocery store. If I could please get the AV team to put up the slide with the QR code, and if I could get you all to give a huge round of applause to the AV team, please. See, I'm a professional speaker by trade, so I know how important the AV team is. But I also know that when you're sitting in your seats, you know the only time you even know the AV team is here is when? If something goes wrong, right? And it hasn't. This has been flawless so far. And if something does inevitably go wrong, we move to the next play. But I need you guys to think about this for a second. These folks behind you right there and the folks behind this massive curtain, the success of their vocation hinges on 300 people not even knowing they exist. Think about that for a second. The success of their job description hinges on you thinking they're invisible. And I share that for a really important reason. Their contribution to this event is unparalleled. It's immeasurable. We need to have them here to have a successful event. And I know there are people in your lives that make a contribution to you personally and professionally that do the heavy lifting during the unseen hours. They are the folks in your life that are behind the curtain. They champion you and support you and push you to be the leaders that you're capable of. And it is so important that we shine a light on them and acknowledge them, because that which gets praised gets repeated. So if you can please, one more time, give the AV team a huge round of applause. I may be a keynote speaker, but the moniker I most resonate with is being a coach. And as a coach, it is my job to help people reach a level of performance they don't believe they can get to on their own. If I did my job today, at best, all I did was plant a few seeds and remind you of a few things that you already knew. But sometimes I think it's more important to be reminded than it is to be taught. Now, I started my program by talking about the Kobe Bryant Skills Academy. What I didn't mention was there was a very special college counselor there. Now, we did not know he was special at the time because he lacked the physical stature and the resume of all of the other college counselors. But there was something about this kid that was different. And the most palpable of those traits was at the end of the first workout. He tapped me on my shoulder and said, "Coach, will you rebound for me? Because I don't leave the gym until I swish 5 free throws in a row." swish 5 free throws in a row. For those of you that have never shot a basketball before, just know that is an incredibly high standard. A swish, by definition, is a perfect shot. It doesn't touch the rim, it doesn't touch the backboard, it gets its name from the sound it makes by going nothing but net. And this young man was not going to leave the gym until he swished 5 in a row. Which means he could have swished 4 in a row, hit just a little bit of the rim on the 5th one. It would still go in. He'd still be 5 for 5. He'd still be mathematically perfect, but that wasn't good enough for him. He'd start over. And if memory serves, it never took him longer than 15 minutes to swish 5 in a row. That young man was Stephen Curry of the Golden State Warriors, who will go down in history as the greatest shooter this game has ever seen. And it's not by accident. It's not by luck. It's not because his dad played in the NBA. It's because he's willing to hold himself to an unparalleled standard. And that's the thought that I want to leave you all with before we do one final closing activity. And that is the standards you set today will determine who and where you'll be tomorrow. Now to end this, I need you guys again, set down your devices, set down your pens, set down your coffees, and set down your foam fingers. All you need to do is clap. I'm going to give you basic instructions for a very basic task. My left palm is facing up. When my right palm crosses over my left palm, I want you all to clap. But I don't want to hear 300 separate claps. I want to hear one clap. I want to hear one voice. I'll go slow, just in case some of you are a little bit slow. All right, you guys ready? Basic instructions, basic task. Now, there's no way I'd come out to Des Moines from DC and leave y'all hanging like that. That would not be cool. I trust you, I believe in you, and I know you guys are good enough. So let's try it one more time, and then I'll take my final bow. All right, you guys ready? As you can see, you guys still got some work to do, so do it. Thank you all so much. I appreciate you. Thank you. Thanks.